A theory on why China's behaving this way?
Welcome back, everyone. Jake here.
China will attack Russia if they fail in Ukraine. What the fuck is this bullshit? What? Okay, I'm curious because I want to hear it. Okay, can we also all remember that Russia is a nuclear-armed state? Just throwing that out there.
Here in this video,
let's
continue talking about the build-up to World War III.
Oh my god!
I want to highlight
Shut the fuck up, please. I'm sorry. Anybody who like fear mongers about World War III, like immediately, I just discredit anything you're saying. Maybe it was I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know his mannerisms. He could be joking. I don't know. But like, I'm sorry. It just
relationship between Russia and China, because I don't believe it's as close as people think it is. We're currently on day 5 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and honestly, all reports coming out of the country, it's not going as smoothly as Russia thought it would. Here's an article titled, "Ukrainian General Vows to Keep Battling Russia as Call Goes Out for Foreign Fighters." And this is Russia's worst nightmare. I'm seeing reports of militia people and anybody who doesn't like Russia, anybody willing to kill Russian soldiers. So there's people from NATO countries like Spain, Ireland, the Netherlands. All they have to do is make it to the NATO border of Poland and Romania, and they'll be allowed into the country. So there's a lot of bad blood from former Soviet bloc states and Warsaw.
Based, by the way, incredibly based.
Pact countries. Anybody with a beef with Russia who's willing to go to Ukraine and fight, they will be welcomed by the Ukrainian military. So if Russia does not get control of this capital city, if Russia does not get control of the governments and...
Is this sped up? Yes, because I can't listen to this for too long. Okay, when I hear people make these like crazy ass claims like the Chinese are going to invade on the February 29th, like I tune it out. It's too sensationalist.
And the Ukrainian military, probably by this week, then Ukraine will just devolve into chaos, and it'll become a protracted insurgency. This is the worst case scenario for the 150,000 Russian troops currently on foreign soil.
Wait, what was his worst case scenario for the Russians?
Control of this capital city in fights, they will be welcomed. And Warsaw Pact countries, anybody with a beef with Russia who's willing to go to Ukraine and fight, they will be welcomed by the Ukrainian military. So if Russia does not get control of this capital city, if Russia does not get control of the governments and the Ukrainian military, probably by this week, then Ukraine will just devolve into chaos, and it'll become a protracted insurgency. This is the worst case scenario for the 150,000 Russian troops currently on foreign soil, as you know, they're going to be hits. They're going to be hit from every direction as NATO continues to supply.
Well, I mean, it's not even like I mean, there are insurgents, I would assume, and occupied in the south. But like, I wouldn't even call it mostly an insurgency. I would call it a traditional ground war. I mean, an insurgency kind of, in my mind, implies like the Russians control the country and there's a rebellion, where they've captured like maybe 5 to 10% of the country, I think. I don't know what percentage of the country, but no large, like no big locations like Kharkiv or Kiev.
Into the country, medical supplies, ammunition, food, and then more so Stinger missiles and Javelin missiles. They're anti-tank, anti-plane missiles, which will just completely decimate Russian forces. And even though we're only on day 5 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Russia's already increasingly sounding desperate. This article is from RT News. This stands for Russia Today. This is Kremlin paid-for propaganda. But Putin has ordered Russian nuclear deterrent forces to be on their highest alert. The move comes in response...
Dude, can I just say Biden's response to this of literally saying, look, this happened and Putin was beating his chest, and Biden's response to this was just, we will not be upping our nuclear alertness levels. He literally just refused to engage with the nuclear threats, which I think is the smartest bet. Just like call the bluff on that. Like, Putin isn't insane. I think he might be trying to lead into like, oh, he's the madman theory. But like, not taking the bait, just being like, what you're doing is irresponsible. It raises an increased risk of a mistake spiraling out into a conflict. We will not engage in such back and forth. It was perfect. Honestly, I think Biden has handled the Ukraine situation better than like 90% of the people who could have been president. The only thing I could possibly critique him on is the Polish MiGs. And like, I understand exactly why that's a concern to him.
To hostile rhetoric by NATO officials, Russia's president has explained. So NATO and the United States has been very clear that none of their forces are going to fight Russian forces in Ukraine for Ukraine. So NATO has pledged they're not getting involved. So the fact that on day 5, Russia is already saber-rattling their nuclear option in response, this shows that Putin is potentially worried that this
You
could be
Desperate.
very troubling for his country and for his
By the way,
regime.
some of you guys just came. The Russian Ministry of Defense accidentally possibly gave a pro-Kremlin like publication the actual death numbers of their soldiers. And so the casualty number we're actually looking at, which would make sense actually, and somewhat lines up with US intel on the high level, by the way, on the high level estimates, 26,000 Russian casualties. I'm sorry, I know we have more raiders in, so I just wanted to restate that. It's not 100% confirmed because once it was posted, it was like deleted like an hour later, right? But it literally lines up with the top part of US estimates and is like actually in the realm of what is more likely than like the crazy ass numbers we were getting from the Ukrainians or the unbelievably small numbers we were getting from the Russians of like 498. The last time they updated it was like March 4th. 26,000, as in not 2,600, as in 26,000 casualties. I say casualties. Some of you might think that's dead. No, there's 10,000 dead Russian soldiers, 15,000 wounded. No, 16,000 wounded, actually.
And his ability to stay in power.
It's over that number, by the way. It's not like a static thing. It was posted like earlier today. So it's over 26,000 casualties.
And that's where Russia's relationship with China actually comes into play. Because Russia is very vulnerable right now as long as China remains neutral. So let's talk about the geopolitics of the world. What are the 3 largest military powers currently on the planet? You could argue it's the United States and their
Oh
NATO
my god,
allies.
shut the
Number
fuck
2
up.
would
I'm
be
sorry.
Russia.
I shouldn't be that mean. I'm sorry. I just hate it when somebody talks to me like I'm a child. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be that mean.
And number 3 would be China. And people say right now that China and Russia are allies. And this is actually not true. They have no strategic treaty or alliance in which if one is attacked, the other has a military obligation to defend the other partner. They just have a mutual interest in seeing the United States' prestige and influence in the world decline. Both Russia wants to extend their military and economic sphere of influence in Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Obviously, China wants to extend it in Southeast Asia. And also Africa. China's been putting a lot of investment into Africa. But in order to invade Ukraine, Russia had to get permission. Russia could not afford to upset or offend the Chinese. So what happened was Vladimir Putin, this article is from February 4th, had to go to Beijing. He already had the full-scale invasion plan ready and set to go. He had already made up his mind. The last thing he had to do was go to Beijing and get permission from the Chinese.
Wait, what? Okay, so this is not what I'm made aware of. Maybe this is because this was made aware of after the video, but what I was made aware of, it was like around the 14th to the 18th, or like around this time, like way after February 4th, like by at least 10 to 15 days, where the final decision was made. And then a few days later, like, that's when the video was recorded and etc, etc. If I remember but just like so much has happened in the last month, I don't remember, but like, I don't, like, this is just speculation.
So why? Why would Russia bother or have to go to China to get permission to invade Ukraine?
I mean, it's possible that he could have asked before making the final decision. But like, how do we, like, what about this article confirms that happened?
And Russia wanted security guarantees because Russia and China are still military adversaries to a certain extent. And that comes from their history. So before we talk about the history, I want to show you this clip from Joe Scarborough. And he has on as a guest Republican Senator Ben Sasse from Nebraska. The entire interview is 11 minutes. I highly recommend watching it for some perspective. I'll link it down below. But I want to show you this 1-minute clip of Senator Ben Sasse talking about what Russia had to do with China in order to enable themselves to attack Ukraine. So let's just watch this clip together.
We seem to be siding with a country that has a GDP that's smaller than Texas instead of the United States and the EU, whose GDP is well over $40 trillion. What do we do?
So, first of all, when you asked at the beginning of this segment, what do Nebraskans think or what do conservatives think on the ground, one of the sort of reasonable arguments you'll hear people say is, but isn't China our long-term threat? Isn't the expansionism of the Chinese Communist Party the number one geopolitical threat of the year 2030? And I think the answer to that is yes. And that, therefore, means not that you can be indifferent to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, but that you should be mindful of the fact that this invasion was greenlighted by Beijing. Russia has 11 time zones, and they were able to move their troops from the Far East back to Belarus to be able to invade not just from their Russian actual territory in the east and the Crimean Seas territory in the southeast, but they invaded from Belarus as well, and they're encircling Kiev as we speak. That was able to happen because they moved the troops back because she said, hey, I'd love...
I remember seeing reports on Twitter from Ukraine saying that confiscated documents of war plan that said the invasion was greenlit in late January. I thought it was mid-February. I don't know. It's all speculation, I guess. And, like, at the end of the day, like, I don't think we'll ever really know until the conflict is said and done.
If you could help destabilize Europe and the US. And by the way, I'd love you to be the scout team offense on what a cyber hybrid war looks like, so we, China, know what it might look like if we try to seize Taiwan. She greenlit this thing.
So this is very interesting. Russia maintains a large military presence on their eastern border, near Kamchatka and Vladivostok. And in order to have enough troops to invade Ukraine, Vladimir Putin had to pull like 100,000 troops from the eastern part of Russia in order to stage them in Belarus in order to invade Ukraine. And Vladimir Putin never would have done that because he doesn't trust the Chinese, unless he got some kind of security guarantee from Xi that China wouldn't invade Russia. So what does China get out of the deal? Obviously, they're observing and they're taking notes. This invasion of Ukraine really is the first war being fought for public perception on social media. This is something I think Vladimir Putin did not calculate what would happen. People in Ukraine have iPhones. They have Samsung, smartphones. So 4K HD video of Russian troops committing atrocities is being live broadcasted on social media. So China wants to see how the United States and NATO reacts. They want to see, obviously, how the cyber warfare will go down. So they're taking notes.
Honestly, like, I gotta be honest. If China was looking to, if what he's saying is true and China's looking to Ukraine as kind of like a, will the Americans, like, protect Taiwan? Like, how would the world respond to us invading Taiwan? Like, I don't think it would necessarily be as intense. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But it's certainly not encouraging how terrible the invasion has gone for the Russians and the economic effects. I'm gonna throw that out there.
However, why was Russia ever keeping 100,000 troops over here on the eastern border of Vladivostok and Kamchatka? And the reason why is because this territory right here used to belong to China. It currently belongs to Russia, but historically it was always China. A lot of people in the West and Western media focus on China wanting to take Taiwan. And yes, I think China still believes eventually they will get Taiwan back under their control. But when we think about historically, what territory used to belong to China, and this hunk-a-chunk land here is Outer Manchuria. And this used to belong to China. If you go on any image of historical China, so here's the Qing dynasty as of 1820. You have Outer Mongolia extending all the way to the Eastern Sea and the Pacific Ocean. So for 10,000 years, this territory belonged to China.
China will attack Russia if they fail in Ukraine. No, they won't. I'm sorry, but the Chinese cannot just solve the issue over there by just invading Russia. Again, Russia is a nuclear-armed power. This is nonsense.
Under the Chinese Empire. And then during the 1800s, when colonial Europe started carving up China with their spheres of influence, Portugal, Great Britain, France, Germany, and colonial Russia, this was a huge embarrassment. And China, since early 1900s, has been able to reclaim all of this land, all of this territory, except for the territory that the Russian Empire took from them in 1860. And Chinese netizens are aware of this. Here's an article from July of 2020. China's border ambitions reach Russia's Far East Vladivostok yet again despite 2008 bounty. So the other reason is due to China's hunger for power, as the Red Dragon set off sparks on social media.
What the fuck? What? I'm sorry? What the fuck is Republic World? I'm sorry. Is due to China's hunger for power? That's a weird thing to hear in an article.
When a tweet posted by a reporter with China's mouthpiece.
Is the other thing that it says view in Hindi? Is this like an Indian news outlet? What is Republic World?
CGTN stated that the territory in question once belonged to China. So let's think about this logic, guys, of authoritarian.
Wait, that's the only source he uses for the claim is some. Dude, come on.
In regimes. Russia's arguments for invading Ukraine.
Dude, this is a you could edit this. This isn't like it's a live stream.
Is that this territory used to belong to the Russian Empire, used to belong to the USSR. There are ethnic Russians who live here. It's okay for Russia's military to take Ukraine. Okay, by that logic, Outer Manchuria, for 10,000 years, belonged to the...
Okay. The difference is Ukraine doesn't have nukes. Russia has nukes. And we don't hear of any troop movements on the border. And not to mention, let's say they fail because they lose support from the Russian public. The Russian public are going to feel a lot differently about Russian territory being annexed and taken than like Ukraine, than them going and invading another country like Ukraine. Dude, this is not the same thing.
Chinese Empire. Oh, and by the way, a majority of the people who live in this area are ethnically Chinese. So obviously, the population of Vladivostok, it's about 600,000 people. This is a very important Russian trading outpost, but this city...
Wait, why? What did the population matter? You're just throwing out random, unimportant information. Hello from our YouTube lurker. I appreciate that, Tay Rice.
It's about 600,000.
You know what this feels like? It feels like when somebody's like, so my report was on Norway. Norway is a country in Europe that is Scandinavian, has mountains, glaciers, and deep coastal storage. Capital is Oslo. It has a population of 3.379 million as of 2020, according to the World Bank. Is also known for fishing, hiking, and skiing. Like, it's like, what? This information is worthless. Why?
People, this is a very important Russian trading outpost, but this city used to belong to China. When we look at the history of Vladivostok, the Chinese name used to be Yongmingcheng, which means City of Eternal Light.
Yeah, between 1368 and 1644, whatever.
Can't really be the City of Eternal Light when Russia militarily takes it from you and then renames it Vladivostok. So I think that Vladimir Putin is desperate for this invasion of Ukraine to be over fast, not because he's concerned that NATO is going to start bombing Moscow or St. Petersburg. NATO would never do that. However,
is that really that? There's no evidence of Chinese troop movements. You showed me some random article from a website no one ever fucking heard of. Like, not to be mean to my Indian fans, but I'm not like, I've never heard of Republic World before. In that article, it didn't even talk about any invasion plans. I've not heard of anything of invasion plans or anything of the sort. And he's like not acknowledging the huge geopolitical difference between Ukraine and Russia when it comes to the amount of people they can mobilize and the fact that they are a nation with weapons of a atomic nature.
Who might actually stab them in the back and steal some of their territory, and it's obviously China. Now,
no, that's not gonna happen. You're literally just lying.
China is looking for weakness. This is what they do. So if Russia...
What does that even mean? China is looking for weakness. This is what they do. Like, oh, everybody knows the Chinese. They look for weakness. What do you mean? What?
Knocks off Ukraine. Good. This probably weakens the United States and their NATO allies. But if Russia can't get a decisive victory soon, if they take heavy losses and sanctions put on Moscow...
Do you think that if you fail an invasion, you can just take territory and the country won't do anything? Do you think that after we left Afghanistan, if Moscow just decided to invade Alaska to take it back for the Russians, like, there would be no response? America would just roll over and let it happen?
Cripples their economy, cripples their country, weakens the Putin regime. And, you know, if a more serious, broader war breaks out, who gets to look like the good guy?
This is literally like Hoi 4 paradox games, like logic. Like, while they're distracted, we'll invade over here. Okay.
By attacking Russia. And it's China.
Why are you so defensive, Dylan? Because I see people say these all-encompassing claims and will, like, make titles like, China will attack Russia if they fail. And you, like, and it's so annoying because it gets so much attention. And all they'll do is like tie together a bunch of articles. Half of them are from sites that we never heard of. Just make long claims, like ginormous claims, with basically zero evidence. And like, look at the like reaction this has gotten: 11,000 likes, almost 300,000 views. Dude, this video made me fly out of my seat. This is an angle no one is considering. And it just makes a lot of sense considering how China conducts its affairs. What? Like fucking, like a suicide pact? What do you mean? Always let the Soviet and Russians make their really dumb mistakes first. Dude, I no longer believe that everyone should have the right to vote. This person just convinced me that not everyone deserves to vote. I'm sorry. Like, MLK's dream should encompass most people, except for Matthew Peer. I want to make an exception for this guy and the person who made this video.
Why would China become in a hot war with the United States or NATO when they can just basically gang up on the guy everybody else is fighting and steal some of their territory? So when you look at the strategic advantage, I've already made the historical claim why this land belongs to China. But look at the
the historical claim. You didn't make the historical claim. You said once this land belonged to China. And then that was it. And then you read the population of it.
Strategic advantage if China actually could take Outer Mongolia away from Russia. Currently, the Chinese...
Could you imagine? I'm like, actually, I think that, like... Yeah, I think half of Russia belongs to Mongolia. What? Yeah, they used to have control of it. Like, gotta make a better historical argument for why it, like... God.
Mainland is basically limited from the Pacific Ocean. So the port cities close to Beijing and Shanghai have access to the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea, but in order to get their shipping out to the Pacific Ocean, they have to go through Korean and Japanese water. Japan controls this water for now. But
yeah, but if they magically take this land with no invasion plans, no build-up, no public support, like nothing, okay? Because the Chinese state is just one evil scheming entity, because that's just how they work.
What Russia did in the 1800s by stealing Vladivostok from the Qing dynasty is they cut mainland China off from the Pacific Ocean through the Sea of Okhotsk. I'm sure it had a Chinese name before Russia renamed it. So if China can just extend its border to this coastline, think of all of the improvements.
Dude, listen to this fantasy theory. Look at this, like, he's just jerking himself off thinking of this, like, random nonsense.
In trade and shipping and developments. I mean, just...
You know, I can do this too, you know. Okay? I could do this too. Watch. 1 second. Hello, everyone. We're here. Now, people had really thought that Tannu Tuva was out for the count. People really thought we wouldn't come back. But when the Russians were least expecting it, when they're engaged in the Ukraine, that is the moment we will use to bring back Tannu Tuva. We shall have a rebellion in Tannu Tuva when all the forces, South Ossetia, everything are distracted by the Ukraine. The Russians, of course, will be too distracted. Too distracted with the operations in the Ukraine, and of course about the impending Chinese invasion, to worry about a silly rebellion in Tannu Tuva they can deal with later. But that's when we take stage 2 of the plan. Everything. Obviously, if we use the strategic reserves of the Tannu Tuva people to unite the world as a historical, rightfully historical, by the way. 1 second. Let me just show you a Wikipedia article, to prove that. Boom, there's a Wikipedia article. It proved that all of this land rightfully belongs to us, and we will use the will and potassium reserves, which Russia dearly relies on for their war effort, and the Ukrainians shall push forward. The Chinese shall push forward, and that is when we shall succeed in our rebellion and make temporary peace treaties with the Ukrainians and Chinese while we build up our potassium reserves and then launch a larger war against OPEC. And that's just stage 2 of my 37-stage plan to make the world the Tannu Tuva Nationalist Republic. Some of you doubt my plans. Some of you say, Dylan, it was not a good idea to do 7 tabs of acid while playing Hearts of Iron, and then say, let's actually start a terrorist movement in Tannu Tuva. But to you I say, no. I am a white man on the internet, and I have opinions, and I can be an armchair general if I want to. I've played 5,000 hours of Paradox games, and that has given me the privilege of telling you I'm an expert in military strategy. All hail Tannu Tuva. Long live Tannu Tuva. Anybody can do this armchair bullshit. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Just as a comparison, guy, this black line is the border between Russia and China. Look at how much China has developed this land with roads and bridges and hospitals and schools and people. And on the other side, it's just forest. There's one.
True, you're right. I mean, they'll probably just accept the Chinese troops. They're basically, like, if the Chinese troops go over and they open up Tinder, they're just gonna get like 1 million requests from welcoming residents of the area, I'm sure.
Road getting across Siberia to Vladivostok. Russia's not even using this land. There's probably
Russia just won't care. They don't think this sets a precedent. They don't want this territory. This is how they trade with North Korea. This is actually like vital for the Russian state. Whatever.
Probably fossil fuel or oil and gas deposits off this coastline. I'm sure Chinese fishermen would love having access to this water. Additionally, this gives the Chinese Navy a strategic advantage in the Pacific and obviously over Japan if they don't have to sail.
I love how he skipped over basically all the history of Vladivostok, except for like once it was controlled by China. He's offered no evidence of like a military invasion besides a very heavily worded with emotional language article from the Republic Times, and that's it. No evidence of military plan. No, there's just all speculation. So he can title a video, China will attack Russia.
Through this narrow strait between Korea and Japan, which are both United States allies. So there's a lot of good reasons. I mean, the list is very long. Why taking outer Manchuria from Russia, if Russia's at its weakest point, strategically makes sense.
No, it doesn't, you fucking... I'm trying not to be ableist. I'm trying very hard. You've given basically zero justification for why China would gamble so much and do this. It could literally end the planet.
Yes, they still want Taiwan, but if the United States and NATO isn't showing weakness, if they're still at their, they're increasing their budgets, they're ramping up their troops, I don't know, guys. It just makes every sense in the world to me for China to get back this territory. And think about the fallout. So let's once again just war game this. Russia for months.
They have nuclear weapons. They are No one is going to invade Russia because any invading force of Russia would be basically flipping a coin whether the world's about to explode.
Is in a protracted conflict in which they're taking heavy losses in Ukraine. Their economy has collapsed. They're experiencing massive protests and upheaval at home. Vladimir Putin maybe even be removed from office by now, but he's holding on.
Let's just war game this, you window licking Neanderthal, man. He's armchairing it. 300,000 people watched this and then nodded their heads along.
To power just barely. If China were to enter the war on the side of NATO, all they got to do is take what they already wanted, what historically used to...
All they got to do, they just go in there, you take it. They take it. There's like no infrastructure there. People will love it. Russia will be too distracted with the dastardly Ukrainians. Oh boy.
Belong to them. So, pretty fun. So do I...
Dude, if he uploaded this video as like... Hey, so I'm playing if he did this in like Hearts of Iron or like if he wanted to just roleplay, why does he just do it in an actual video game? Like do it in Hoi 4, do it in Crusader Kings, do it in Victoria 2, do it Civ. Like I don't care. Don't do it actually in real life.
I think that Russia will attack China in...
Could you imagine living in this location in Russia and you open up YouTube with your VPN? It's cold. Just spend the day in. You hear China will attack. You see this China will attack. What? And you click it and you listen to this. And this is what you get. How little effort this man did in putting any research into this territory about Russia, or the history of this land, or if there's any military strategy plan. He literally had to go out and find an article that vaguely was related to this, so he could make these these fatalistic claims about an invasion, and like just piffily like saying, yeah, China's gonna probably invade this your hometown. It's insulting, actually.
Anytime soon, and I don't think so. For now, their public strategic partnership still benefits China. Doing nothing still benefits China. But China is a rising power, while Russia is a declining power, and Putin has gambled everything on this invasion.
Which is why, like, nukes don't... You know, actually, the more you decline, the less the nukes work. And actually, I believe Russia, if they lose this war in Ukraine, they just gotta, like, get rid of all their nukes. Like, they're like, fair game, we lost. Boop, and they just turn them all off. Yep.
Invasion of Ukraine. So if this does not go well for Russia, when Russia is in its most desperate hour of need, that's the moment that China will stab them in the back. China does not view their relationship as equal. Yes, they have a mutual geopolitical adversary in the United States.
They're not. They haven't even condemned the invasion.
But China looks down on
They've
Russia.
literally avoided condemning the invasions, but then condemned U.S. aid to Ukraine. This guy has no clue what he's talking about. He's so stupid. I'm sorry. This is actually... I would rather have him defend the Russian invasion than say what he's saying right now, because this is breaking my brain so bad.
China's economy is 10 times larger.
Who linked this? Who linked this in chat? Stand up. Show yourself.
His population is 10 times larger, and these two are geopolitical rivals for economic and military influence over Central Asia. So the fact that from Moscow, Kazakhstan...
Yeah, and America and the Soviet Union were rivals in Europe for power. That didn't mean America was going to invade Vladivostok or anywhere. Oh my god.
And Turkmenistan, all these stands in the Central Asian plateau. The fact that Moscow militarily and economically dominates these countries when, once again, historically, the Chinese Empire used to dominate this region of the world.
Well, historically, actually, Mongolia did, so I think it's actually a matter of time until the Mongols come back and ride across the steppe. And I mean, when you look at what the Turkey is doing in Syria, I mean, it seems that the Ottoman Empire is about to come back. Like, oh my god.
So I definitely could see if Moscow and Russia completely implodes as a result of this Ukrainian invasion, China would gleefully pick up where the power vacuum would leave off and then be able to...
What does he mean implode? What is that? Like, that's just whole nation collapses? Like, is that what, like, he thinks if they lose in Ukraine, like, Russia just...
have more territory for themselves to, once again, economically dominate their smaller neighbors. Okay, guys, if you...
Good point, chat. Maybe Macedonia is going to invade Iran to reestablish Alexander the Great's, historical claims to Iranian territory.
If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up to support my channel.
No. I hope you get a hemorrhoid. I gotta see, what else is this guy uploaded? I shouldn't type "you shouldn't vote." I should actually not engage in harassment on the internet, I think. Let's see what other videos he's done. Death Cross event. Will NATO go into Ukraine? NATO would destroy me. And then he's got like a little Soviet star pin on Putin here. Soviet hammer and sickle. Russia economy is collapsing. The Russian military will collapse within 45 days. What? Dude, stop making all these fucking bombastic claims, man.
What?
Dude, stop, please. What do you mean it'll collapse? What does that even mean? Aliens will invade Russia in the near future. It's prediction clickbait. Stop giving him the reaction he wants. I'm allowed to be angry at dumb prediction clickbait, okay? Oh my god, man. I guess. Oh.
Welcome back, everyone. Jake here. Currently, we're on day 25 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and of course, Russia can no longer win this.
Hey, how's the Chinese invasion going? Day 25. I don't see Chinese troops anywhere. I don't see no deployments. Russian armies bogged down. Where's the Chinese invasion, buddy? When are we gonna get the update video on Vladivostok falling to Chinese invasion?
War. All they can do is kill more people and destroy more buildings, but that's not winning. Simply put, they did not bring a large enough invasion force to conquer a country the size of Texas with 40 million people actively resisting. 150,000.
What a simplification. Oh my god. The logistical issues, the morale issues, the underproduction
or 200,000 Russian troops simply isn't enough. When you look at their invasion strategy of attack from everywhere, this was poorly planned out. Obviously, their goal was to overwhelm the Ukrainian forces and get them to stand down or surrender. But as their front continues to expand in every direction, it's basically a wood chipper out there for Russian soldiers, and they know it on the ground. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians, in effect, get to fight back to back, and they're being resupplied from the center of the country, resupplied from their western NATO border. There are various...
That's not even true for, like, Mariupol. Like, no, don't use the Ukrainian... No, don't use the Ukrainian numbers! No! That's, like, my #1 pet peeve! Stop!
International organizations attempting to document and record Russian losses in the country, since the Russian government is lying to their...
It says UATV, man. It's the Ukrainian sources you're using. This is not... Dude, these numbers are so inflated.
...own people about their casualties.
This is like 50% higher than what it needs to be, than what it actually is.
Some estimates of Russian soldiers lost is as high as basically 14,000. And this is only...
When you say some estimates, you mean like Ukrainian politicians while on crack writing up these numbers. They see a Russian soldier trip. If a Russian soldier stubs his toe, he's dead, right? There is like zero disinfectants and like medical treatment. Dylan, too much emotion? I'm an emotional man. I'm a sensitive man, okay? I'm a sensitive man. And if America's not ready for that, too bad.
Only in about 3 weeks worth of fighting, guys. So if they brought in 150,000 troops, and they've already lost close to 10% of their fighting force, this doesn't count wounded in action, missing in action, or POWs.
But these numbers are... Why are you using these numbers? You say there's some statistics have this wild, totally unbelievable, from obviously pro-Ukrainian sources number. Why don't you use, like... Dude, just use US estimates, which are a lot more reasonable. Or, like... You can use literally, you can just go through confirmed stuff that's confirmed through open source. Like there are multiple websites providing open source intelligence for the documented losses you can physically see. While that won't be perfect and won't be 100% up to date, at least you know you won't be overshooting it. But this is overshooting it by like a mile.
And if you say that estimate is high, you can go with the New York Times estimate of 7,000 Russian soldiers being killed in the first 3 weeks of this conflict.
No. I'm not even going to give you credit for that. Because why would you go say the crazy out of here statistic and then put a normal, actually respectable statistic and be like, well, if you don't like the first one, then here's a normal option. This is like I'm saying, oh, you have back pain? Well, you could have, maybe an Aleve or something, maybe a little pain pill or methamphetamines. These are two equally respectable options.
To put that number in perspective, the conservative number, Russia is...
To be clear, like right here, boom. Here is this guy right here has been unbelievably like documenting loss after loss after loss, like constantly documenting losses of the Russian military. Listen to what he has to say about this. This is somebody I actually respect on this. Again, please note that this list is nothing more than propaganda. The number of aircraft and helicopters lost by Russia is highly exaggerated, while other entries aren't even updated. Russia lost many fuel trucks in the past week, but none of these are ever added to the list. And I can't even like the tweet again because I already liked it because it was true when I saw it earlier today. Okay.
Lost more troops in Ukraine than the United States lost in Iraq and Afghanistan combined over 20 years of fighting. How much longer do you think a fighting force, a military, can sustain these losses before there's just a complete collapse within their basically morale and their ability to continue fighting? So given their casualties...
See, there's one thing for you to say the offensive collapsed, their supply lines collapsed, soldiers started surrendering en masse, and the invasion collapsed, right? That's one claim, right? A separate claim of the Russian military will collapse, the entirety of the military, and then you get a date on it, 45 days. That's just nonsense.
Within their basically morale and their ability to continue fighting. So given their casualty rate so far, they're losing about 300 soldiers a day. This doesn't count wounded in action or missing in action.
300 soldiers a day. So we're going with this one? And by the way, this doesn't even... Wait, there are estimates for wounded in action and all that. He can get those estimates. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let's keep going.
So at some point in the near term, guys, Russia is going to have to give up on their invasion strategy of attack from everywhere and probably focus on a more defensive position in the east and the south. Additionally, with the fighting force they brought, I don't even think they'll be able to hold the east and the south as NATO continues to resupply the Ukrainians. So what Russia needs is a mass mobilization of
Dude, like nothing, like just everything he's saying, just assume it's like give it no weight. Like again, as far as I know, this guy is not a military expert. Okay, can I actually double check that? Like I don't know, maybe he was like the Secretary of Defense during like I don't know, William Howard Taft's administration. Dude, he does finance and investing. Why is he pretending to be like? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jake and I talk about finance investing. I also currently serving on active duty and will cover military finance topic. Okay, so he's a soldier. That's it, okay? Let me just be clear. Being a soldier is respectable and all, okay? It can maybe tell you, like, certain things you can tell me about boot camp and or active combat. It does not mean you know the ins and outs of Russian military logistics, okay? I'm just gonna be honest. No. There are people who work their whole lives to study. Whole lives. And even many of them are surprised.
Their civilian force. They need their people to participate in the war effort. Unfortunately, you can't call it a war in Russia. It's a special military operation. But what Putin needs to do is call up about 100 or 200,000
right now, he's doing a special brain tumor operation on me right now.
Russian reservists and mobilize them for war. But instead, what is the Russian population doing? They're putting out really preppy propaganda videos, such as this one.
Мурманской области. И мы как никто понимаем, что любую битву с нацизмом, природными катаклизмами или пандемией можно выиграть только всем вместе, плечом к плечу. Сегодня российская армия сражается за безопасность России и целого мира, потому что у нацизма...
He didn't even translate it. Is he going to translate it or...
So the Russian people, probably being organized by the Kremlin, are making these pro-war propaganda videos. They've got their special hoodies with this Nazi Z on it. How is this helping the Russian?
What?
So the Russian people, probably being organized by the Kremlin, are making these pro-war propaganda videos. They've got their special hoodies with this Nazi Z on it.
What tie does this have to Nazism? If you want to talk about like the Russian national unity movement or like Russian fascists that have actually like, look, I have a list compiled of fascist stuff like in Russia. One second. Let me see if I can actually like specifically involved in this conflict. I have a list of this stuff because this question comes up a lot, okay? If you wanted to talk about like fascism amongst the Russian ranks or amongst the Donetsk or Luhansk People's Republics, you can. There are actual fascists you could point out, right? You could say that this is hardcore nationalistic, but the Z has nothing to do with that. Look. You talk about like the Russian national unity movement, which has a swastika. You can talk about the Russian imperialism. There's a lot of stuff here, okay? A lot of symbols or things. Not all of this I even agree with being on the list, but like there are actual things you could point to. That's like just a swastika, right? Why? I'm sorry. Oh my God.
How is this helping the Russian soldiers currently fighting on the front lines? Here's another propaganda video put out by the Kremlin involving a bunch of college students at a university.
Dude, I can't even read it because his camera's in the way. The thing is, look, again, if he was a streamer, I can understand it because it's live. You can't move your camera around all the time. You forget. This is pre-recorded. He pre-recorded this.
цен, что конец войне положит именно дипломатия. Президент России объявил, что для стабилизации ситуации...
So these are Russian students, once again putting out a propaganda video to cheer up the soldiers on the front line. It looks like they belong to the Moscow State Institute of International Relations. Kind of sounds like a safety school to me, guys. But what the Russian military needs is for all of these guys to go to their local recruitment station, get a gun, and then go to the front lines in Ukraine. That's the only thing that would help their soldiers, not these goofy videos of them standing around in their nice suits, regurgitating Kremlin propaganda. Additionally, Putin, feeling the pressure at home, also decided to have this bizarre pep rally for the not war. It's once again special military operation.
Dude, he's not even right. And like people, and it was a rally about having to do with Crimean Crimean annexation in 2014. But like he did like it was gonna happen no matter what. But it obviously with everything that's happening, it's bigger. But whatever.
And he's wearing this turtleneck and this puffy jacket because he's got a bulletproof vest on under there. He's pretty paranoid at this point about being assassinated. There's a lot of oddities about this rally he held in Moscow, one of them being that his video feed was cut off mid-sentence. His speech to the public wasn't finished on Kremlin TV.
Stop
so there's
speculating,
speculation that
man!
He said something in his speech.
No, he's speculating again! Stop, please!
His own propagandists said, we can't air this on television to your own people. Potentially he accidentally said the word war, and then that would mean he'd have to send himself to prison for 15 years. But what are conditions on the ground for everyday Russians actually like? And we're seeing more and more videos similar to this one. So as economic sanctions take hold of Russia, more and more Russian grocery stores and stores are having...
Dude, he didn't even talk about the context of this video or like what they said. Like I covered this on stream earlier. Like, yeah, there's people worried about, like, supply shortages. People are panic buying. Yeah, like... But he didn't even give, like, the context.
Empty shelves. They got a new shipment of sugar in, and here are some Russians basically fighting over these bags of sugar. Coffee, flour...
Okay, thank you. Thank goodness.
Basic staples. Everyday Russians are going to have a harder and harder time finding these in their stores. Here's a funny article about this Russian man who chained himself to a McDonald's restaurant to protest it closing, as American-based or European-based companies are pulling out all of their operations in Russia. I guess some people care more about not getting the McRib sandwich as opposed to Ukrainian civilians suffering in the war. Meanwhile, how is morale?
You can care about both.
On the Ukrainian side, and I want to share a couple videos with you guys. Once again, there are countless stories and countless videos of videos similar to these, giving the Ukrainian people encouragement and hope.
Dude, I understand, like, he's trying to show morale, but, like... I mean, you could talk about reports of morale laws, but, like, you can just pick and choose what videos you want to show all day. Dude, I might actually have to stop watching this. I'm actually starting to get a headache.
To continue resisting. So this is a Ukrainian soldier playing their national anthem on a violin in some kind of bunker, once again giving this sense of camaraderie and solidarity amongst the Ukrainian people. And the Ukrainian fighting forces know that if Russia decides to stop fighting, there's no more war. But if the Ukrainians decide to stop fighting, there's no more Ukraine. Putin has expressly stated that Ukraine as an identity or culture or people doesn't exist.
No, he's making, like, it's completely up in the air exactly if it would be... Like federalization, like what would be like whatever. Okay, whatever. I get what he's saying. I mean, that's one of the possibilities, but there's multiple possibilities. Lil Wolf, thanks for the Prime Gaming. But still, like, I agree with the sentiment.
His objective is cultural genocide, to wipe out the Ukrainian national identity and absorb their people and their territory back into Russia. Here's another touching video of a Ukrainian woman bringing coffee and snacks to probably a local area defense force for her town. Once again, if you choose to fight to defend your nation, all the civilians are on your side. They will chip in and help out where they can. Once again, giving encouragement, giving motivation, bringing coffee or snacks. This is what the Ukrainian forces fighting for Ukraine get to experience every day, as long as, you know, they're not under fire. Meanwhile...
Well, no, that's... Yeah, that's a kind of a big caveat. This is what Ukrainian forces face every day. When they're not being bombarded by Russian artillery.
Well, how's it going for the occupiers, the Russian soldiers in Ukraine? And the only major city that they've successfully taken so far is Kherson, and the people of Kherson...
Soon to be Mariupol, too. In the next week or 2 weeks, probably.
...are actively resisting. They're pretty much just protesting the Russian occupation every day.
They just don't care.
So here's a Russian soldier just firing his gun off into the air to try and startle or scare the protesters. You can see this man right here giving him the bird. If you were a Russian occupier of a Ukrainian town, this is what you're going to have to experience and put up with.
I mean, he's right here. Like, he is right about this. Like, obviously, if you were told you were going to liberate a country from Nazis, and then every single city or town you go to, they're like, we hate you, we hate you, we hope you get shot, we hate you, we hate you, hope you die, Ukraine forever, we'll always resist. Once I get the opportunity, I'm going to slash your tires. It's probably not going to weigh well on you. Definitely if you're just some random Russian conscript who's been lied to about the war.
Every day, basically until you surrender. Additionally, as far as motivation for the Ukrainian forces, here's a convoy coming to Ukraine from Lithuania of people who organized and donated SUVs. So this is a convoy going straight into the country. All of these cars are fully loaded with gas, fully loaded with supplies and humanitarian aid. Once again, the people of Europe, the wealthiest nations in the world, are doing everything they can logistically and financially to support and arm the Ukrainians. Next video or picture here is a series of fire trucks and ambulances donated from basically, I think, Portugal. And these.
Okay, so but where's the Russian military collapse within 45 days? Where is it? Where is it?
Fighter and ambulance. He's currently the mayor of Kyiv. Once again, he's showing people all of the supplies and leaders. An off-ramp from this war in which to the list that the Russian military has committed is the bombing of this theater in Mariupol.
Okay, but where's the military
Russia.
collapse?
I guess this is pronounced Dedi. I'm not sure. But for whatever reason, the Russian Air Force decided to target this.
Yes, okay, we know all this.
Atrocities
yes.
and
it's a terrible atrocity. The Russians bombed a drama theater in Mariupol, which had the words "children" written in front of behind it. Purely civilian infrastructure, purely marked to hold civilians and not military. Terrible war crime. None of this addresses the main point.
This building, they didn't blow up this building. Be a deputy on the Kyiv City Council, but now she's fighting to defend her country and defend her nation's children. For fun, let's watch some cool videos of basically Russian soldiers getting killed by these anti-tank guided missiles.
God. We got some cool videos lined up. Let's watch life get snuffed out in an instant. Woo! I mean, like, I understand, like, the sentiment of, like, these are the occupiers, da-da-da-da-da. And I'll play some footage, too. And I this was just very, probably, it's a hell of a caveat. All I'm saying. Okay, where's the Russian military collapses?
That this is a possibility available to them. And I actually think there's a huge opportunity for Ukrainian forces if they can just get information to Russian soldiers that if they're willing to surrender, they don't have to fight this war anymore.
Look, it's a good strategy from the Ukrainians, but it doesn't mean they're all going to surrender. Because a lot of people, I mean, let me be honest with you guys. You're a Russian soldier. Like, you've got most likely like a mom and a dad and a brother, sister, cousins, whatever in Russia. Like, you want to be able to go back to Russia at a lot of them are gonna not want to like surrender. Some of them will probably actually be convinced of the cause. Others would be scared of certain penalties. Like, it's a good tactic to offer as much as possible. Treat captured prisoners of war as well as possible, right? As well as possible. That's why I was really happy to see the Ukrainian special ops in Kharkiv reversed that one terrible statement I talked about in another video where they were saying we're not gonna give mercy to the artillerymen after the Russian artillery killed a bunch of children in Kharkiv. They reversed that statement because they knew that, number one, that's a war crime, and number two, it's also strategically I think a bad idea. Like, you want to create an environment where people feel willing and able to surrender.
This is Vladimir Putin's war exclusively, and these Russian children, basically, are not the enemies of the Ukrainian people. An idea similar to what South Korea does to get information into North Korea, they could launch balloons with leaflets saying that this is Vladimir Putin's war exclusively, Ukraine is not their enemy, any Russian soldier who chooses to surrender themselves, put down their gun, will be treated humanely and fairly, and you could probably even put on the pamphlet that they would be pardoned for any past actions if they stand down, if they just stop fighting.
He's just throwing stuff out there. Hey, Ukrainians, if you want to take my idea, here's an idea for you.
With the Russian forces.
Like, we'll ignore all your war crimes.
Additionally, with these soldiers, in occupying territories,
Where's
they're
the
not allowed to
collapse?
the war efforts, special military operation effort. So a lot of these soldiers don't know what's happening with that children's hospital that was bombed in Mariupol or that theater that was bombed sheltering children. So if these Ukrainians just want to give these guys their cell phones and say, use the phone, call your mother, call your friends, go on the internet, do some research, don't listen to, Kremlin propaganda. If you just put down your weapon, surrender yourself, these people would take them in. They would take care of them until this war is over. And quite frankly,
Well, I mean, like, you're being okay. I'm gonna be honest. As much as I would love to believe that's the case, I would also say that there's probably, like, I would think in most cases, most Ukrainians would do that. But on the other hand, if you're a Ukrainian in Mariupol who just lost their whole family in a Russian artillery strike, it's gonna take a hell of a lot of resolve, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's that simple.
frankly, guys, this isn't going to last much longer. The fact that they've lost, 15,000 dead in the first 25 days.
Wait. So you worked off of originally the number. So you proposed a crazy number, which isn't real. Then you proposed a more realistic number. You start doing math off the more realistic number, and now you're back to the crazy 15,000. It's just not. It's just, the number is just propaganda.
And they're hemorrhaging soldiers 300, 400 a day, possibly. The Russian military simply just cannot sustain this. Probably another 40 or 45 days, unless, once again...
That's it? That's what this video was? He just throws out a number? He just like, I don't know, 30, 45, boom. There you go. There's the number. Just throws it out. Thousands, tens of thousands of people are dead. He's like, I don't know. If I give the Russian 30 days, 45 max, really, before the entirety of Russia just fucking collapses. Dude.
Vladimir Putin mobilizes the entire country and calls up another 100,000 or 200,000 reservists just to rush them into Ukraine. But I think if he were to do that, there'd be massive unrest and revolts, as those 100,000 or 200,000 reservists just wouldn't be willing to go. Okay, guys, that's all I got for this update video. If you found...
Thank God, you actually make me feel pain. The next person to link me one of his videos is gonna get banned for a week. Okay?